Whether you like it or not, these data centers are being built, this technology is going to get developed, and you can't stop the AI train. If we have to go along this path, let's try to do as much good as we can.
From Agerpoint, this is Intelligent Everywhere. I am James Kotecki, and my guest today is Nate Burola. He's the founder of the AI and Environment Resource Hub, which is basically a giant list of companies, conferences, courses, and other resources, all about how AI is being applied to environmental challenges. Perfect guest for this show. So what can Nate's bird's eye view teach us about AI's impact on our planet? And most importantly, will he add this podcast to his list? To find out, let's welcome Nate Burola. Thanks for coming on the show.
Howdy, thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
So, why did you start the AI and Environment Resource Hub?
I noticed there was a hole in kind of the AI and environment landscape where you couldn't find like a centralized repository of information about how AI is being applied to different areas of environmental science. For example, how AI is being applied to energy, sustainable finance, conservation science. So I just started it out as a hobby. I just started curating resources, and then it quickly grew into a database and also a platform. So folks now use the database for research purposes. Since there's an organizations tab too, they've used it to find jobs. We also have a climate code newsletter, which you should totally subscribe to, by the way, soft plug
Great.
on the podcast. But yeah, it quickly transformed into its own thing.
Do you get a sense that people's view of AI and the environment generally is, if they think about it at all, just kind of this vague sense that AI is bad for the environment, and that's about where their knowledge stops?
Yeah, so I think it depends on where you fall, like on the spectrum of opinion. So there's a techno-optimist, techno-realist, and like a techno-pessimist. You could think, for example, that AI is really good for the environment, where, for example, let's say it can optimize the energy grid and actually help us solve the energy crisis that we have in multiple different countries. But then on the other end of the spectrum, you have a techno-pessimist, where all you see is just the mainstream impacts of like data centers and AI taking up energy, water, land use. I'm more of a techno realist where through all the research that I've done, I've seen the numerous applications, and there are like a lot of positive use cases, but there are serious impacts we're not solving yet. But
Mhm.
there's a lot of momentum behind solving these different problems.
So give me some examples of some organizations that are on the list, or, use cases for AI to solve environmental problems.
There are a lot of problems right now with trying to hook up all these different data centers to the energy grid, at least here in the US. And that might potentially cause like brownouts and blackouts for different communities. So there are a couple of initiatives through Emerald AI and also EPRI, the Electric Power Research Institute. They have been working in tandem with a couple of other organizations in a consortium to understand like how AI can be used to maximize the energy grid and also solve
Mm,
energy related problems. Microsoft's AI for Good Lab is a really cool starting point for anyone that wants to understand how AI can be applied to solve environmental problems. They have their various GitHub repositories if you're a coder that you can use to play around with their data. And I'll give one more example. The AI and Planetary Justice Alliance is a collective of researchers, activists, and artists exploring the planetary justice impacts of AI across the supply chain.
What does AI mean to you? What does AI mean for the Resource Hub?
In the context of the resource hub, it's more generative AI rather than like actual, let's say, hard machine learning intelligence, neural networks. It's more on the research and policy side rather than more on the technical side.
But when it comes to something like optimizing the power grid, presumably it's a lot more complicated than just
A
typing into
hundred percent.
ChatGPT,
A
like
hundred
which
percent.
power grid should I use today, or
Yeah.
right?
You need to consider like what aspects of AI as an umbrella term that you're trying to incorporate. AI is not just generative AI. It's a combination of like different
Yeah.
technologies under like one label.
What about the notion that the real problem to solve is not technical, but societal, right? A pessimist might say, all this technical optimization is just fiddling around at the margins. We really have to make societal change.
They call it the misalignment principle, where the development of AI as a technology is not being developed in the best interests of society, but rather it goes towards another direction where it's primarily, let's say, business interests and profit sharing, right? We are developing all this infrastructure and we're going to power it by any means necessary. So, what does that mean? The speed running of environmental permitting, that's going to cause a lot of environmental justice issues. I've spoken to other researchers that are like firm techno pessimists, and they're just like, no, AI is ultimately at the end of the day a net negative for the environment. I'm in the middle, I would say, because like I am still a firm believer in the potential for the technology. The technology is capable of solving, different climate issues that we face, like droughts and agricultural concerns and stuff, but only if it's applied in the right way.
It sounds like you might be a little bit skeptical of the profit motive as a way of progressing AI. But, for better or worse, a lot of these AI initiatives come from for profit companies. A lot of people get into AI because they want to make money. Even if they also
Right,
want to do good at the same time, they have to
right.
make money to keep these businesses going. Do you believe that that actually can be a positive way to move these things forward? Again, if it's, framed and structured in the right way?
I definitely think so. When I first originally started this effort like a year ago, I thought big tech was the villain. Like they're putting out a bunch of carbon, they're using all this energy, they're using all this water. And then the more I started talking to people, reading their reports, and just learning about what they're doing on the opposite side with all their sustainability investing, you need that. Whether you like it or not, these data centers are being built, this technology is going to get developed, and you can't stop the AI train. Unless the entire industry collapses with the AI bubble, you can't stop this train. So if we have to go along this path, which it evidently appears that we are, let's try to do as much good as we can. So you take all that like billions and billions of investment, and part of that is sustainability focus. Like Google, Meta, Amazon, all the big tech companies, they are doing sustainability work, but there are problems with what they report. Like they cherry pick the data. They don't report everything. They only report like some things. Capitalism is this force for bad, I guess, but also for good too when it comes to driving AI.
Looking at this holistically, which of these two factors are going to win the day? Is AI going to get so good that it saves the planet, or is AI going to get so prevalent that it ruins the planet?
Again, I'm a techno realist, so I would love to believe that eventually, AI is going to be used solely for good and we're going to solve all of our problems. But at the same time, there are serious trade-offs with the technology. For example, air quality concerns if your data center is being powered by fossil fuels, environmental justice concerns if you stick a data center in the backyard of a low income community, all the attention is on energy and water, which is great as a starting point, but we need to further expand our scope to include all of the other issues that are systematic of like this like larger problem.
If you could give advice to an entrepreneur out there who says, I want to harness AI to do some good, probably want to make some money too.
I would advise entrepreneurs to first seriously consider like what environmental problem that you're trying to solve. Does this environmental problem require the usage of AI to begin with? Use the resource hub, look at the newsletter, try to find frameworks first that you can brainstorm in order to like see like how AI would eventually play out in solving your environmental problem before running ChatGPT 5 like nonstop and also emitting a ton of carbon at the same time. There are toolkits also that I've logged in the resource hub that you can look into.
Well, plug your website while we're here.
My LinkedIn profile has like the links to the resource hub and also the climate code newsletter. And so if you want to learn more about things related to AI and the environment, definitely subscribe, follow the research, and I'm always happy to yap about like how AI can be used to solve environmental problems.
Okay, final question. It's time to put it all on the line. Is
Okay.
this podcast going into the resource hub?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, it'll also be included in the climate code
Success.
newsletter as well. I mean, I'm a little biased in the sense where like if I'm on a podcast, I'm definitely going to put
It
it out
must be
there.
good, right? If you're
It's
on it, of
awesome.
course.
It's awesome. And like if we have an amazing host like you, James, then of course, of course it's going to go on the resource hub and the newsletter.
Well, we will link to the resource hub and the newsletter in the description for this video. Thank you for sharing your technological realism with us, Nate Burola of AI and Environment Resource Hub. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
And thank you so much for watching. Make sure you tell us what you're working on in the comments. Like, subscribe, let the algorithms know you want more intelligent everywhere, and it'll make me happy too. I'm James Kotecki. Let's get out there.